say something that you don't know it's me saying it. So I don't know if we should use that one. Because it's like I'm just giving Carl the Brandon information, which is that, well, I mean, I don't know, what can I say here? But then I guess my first lines where it sort of introduces me is that I say to somebody else on the crew of scientists, I'm like, are you nervous?
Yes. Was that the question?
They were like, what are your first lines? I can ask you now. Use it. What are your first lines that introduce your character?
What were your first lines in the series?
In the show.
Oh, fuck, dude. I think my first one was to you, right? In the Memory Sweet Play, does that count?
It was, but then not really, because but then you can't really say that.
I have no idea. I actually can't remember. I said so many lines in this show, it all became blurred.
I was like, all the lines.
I was like, I'm not going to
day.
say this line. I can't remember it. I think I was having a nice conversation, actually, about the idea of aliens existing beyond the moon.
Yeah.
That might have been, but I don't remember what I was actually talking about. Something about being friends or something. I think. Yeah. Which, yeah.
We're like, no spoilers.
I mean...
Were you guys surprised about the arcs that your characters took? Like, from where you started to where you ended? Obviously without specifics. Really
I had the chance to go to the writer's room ahead of filming, before I left LA, and sit down with everyone in there, and sit down with Jeff, and we kind of talked about what my arc would be. So in a way, I wasn't so much surprised about that journey, but I was definitely surprised in that I had no idea what was going to happen in between, or even exactly what it would look like at the end.
Your character is not strictly human.
No, I am human.
Oh, okay.
I'm human, but I've just my genes have been my genes have been modified in vitro. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the CRISPR program. We actually have the technology already to gene edit, but it's controversial because it's where are the lines, what are the limits, all of this. But in this world of Nightflyers, we are doing that. We are editing the genes of humans, and so I'm not an alien. I'm not a non-human. I am I have a mother. I had a mother and father.
Do other humans treat you differently because you've been gene edited?
Well, Mel has spent her whole life up until the point of the mission sort of in a program for people that have been, engineered in the way that she has and training to live her life in that way. So, I mean, in the sense that people have always had an expectation of her to go down a certain path, sure. But she was definitely, it's definitely a time when it's in vogue for that kind of thing to be happening. And then especially she was a part of a program where it's everybody's doing that. And in that program, Mel was the best and the brightest, which is why she was selected by Carl Brannon to come and be a part of this incredible mission.
Yeah. The reason why Mel ends up being selected by Carl is Carl needs to put together a crew of scientists to basically trust him to go into space, and there's no proof that what he's talking about actually is valid. So the reason why Mel ends up going on with Carl is because Carl needs to have somebody who's also been, she's been designed for space travel, and Carl's an astrophysicist who doesn't actually want to go on one of these journeys, doesn't want to be involved in this at all. But because he's the only one who understands and is aware of where the aliens might actually be and is able to possibly make contact, he has to. But he's very personal, obsessive reasons for doing that. So Mel is there along with the other scientists as part of this kind of crew that he puts together to basically be a support structure to try and meet the aliens. And Mel's the only one who's ever kind of got any kind of idea of what being in space constitutes. All these scientists, apart from the crew who don't want the scientists on board in the first place because they're going on a mission that no one's ever done, and if anything goes wrong, there's nothing can help them. They don't know what it's like to be in space. You've got a bunch of people who actually don't want and don't know how to exist in space, cohabiting in a scenario when kind of stuff becomes very visceral and very intense very quick. So Mel is the only one who has any kind of training or even kind of physical capabilities to cope with that.
David and Jane were talking about how every character kind of comes with their own baggage and their fears, But when you discovered, okay, this is going to be your foundation of fear that will carry out your character, were you surprised by that? And did you have to look to different experiences outside, and say, okay, how am I going to play out this out?
No, I mean, I didn't really, in terms of, it's very specific, and it kind of like, for me, the very idea of where Carl's fear comes from is a very personal thing, but it's also very personal to me, but also very personal to the character in the show. And I think it'll happen to connect to everybody, because it's like, how far are you willing to go to sacrifice for something you believe in? But everyone's kind of version of that's very subjective. So what Carl believes he should or can do or shouldn't do isn't going to be the same as Mel's or Gretchen's or anybody else's. And so that's when you kind of end up having conflict. And so that kind of personal journey for the character, I understood it, and it's a very kind of specific journey, but it does obviously then get convoluted and kind of gets more complex as it goes along. Yeah. But
And I think for Mel, it's like more than anything, because it's unique. Mel is unique in that she has been spending her life kind of thinking about doing something, and not specifically in that, like, I mean, she wouldn't have known that there was an alien race they were going to go for, but just like this idea of going on a mission, being in space, being a part of something that's bigger than herself. That's always kind of been what her life is driven towards. So I think more than anything, like, one of her biggest fears is this idea of failing, or of not being able to do this thing that she spent her whole life sort of training to do. And I think that in the face of, as we know, there's a lot of death on this show. That's something where it's like, it's a very real for her. It's definitely less about something, dealing with someone in her life, versus it's more about like, purpose, like failing purpose, dying, like that's kind of just the thing. But obviously the bigger thing, we all fear death, I think, as humans, but like just that not fulfilling purpose, that sort of is driving Mel throughout the series, and if everyone if you're supposed to be this, perfect being, and then you're not, then who are you?
Deep. I love it.
True.
One more question. I'm so excited.
It's a very visceral and very aggressive and complex and emotional show. Yeah, I was exhausted when we finished the show in a great way.
Yeah.
And you look back and you're like, holy fuck, that just happened. So and it's it's kind of show I actually want to watch. I'm actually excited by them, like, because you want to do stuff that you actually also want. Like I binge watch shows. I'm like, this is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy watching this. So. Yeah.
But I told all my friends not to binge.
I love Stranger Things at the moment. And I'm waiting for the second season of Westworld. No,
There's a trolley station, but we need to let people know, all of our fans in the US of A, we're not binge watching this show. We're watching it every week. Okay. But if you're international on Netflix, you can binge. I will be live tweeting.
Probably, yeah.
I will be live tweeting from wherever I am. Okay, we'll be watching weekly, because I need to see what happens. Okay, I just spent 5 months on a spaceship. I need to know what just happened.
Awesome. Hey, thank you guys so much.